Awesome Okinawa Part 4, Pottery, Ryukyu Glass, and Coral Dyeing by Shiny Visions. Traditional pottery styles are unique to each of Japan's 47 prefectures and is a source of pride for these various regions. Traditional Okinawan pottery comes in two types. The non-glazed Ariyachi pottery is mainly used as everyday containers, such as large water vessels, sake jars, and crocks for food storage. Because of this, Ariyachi pottery is considered simple and unsophisticated, but its practicality put it in high demand during Okinawa's ancient Ryukyu kingdom rule of the 15th and 16th centuries. Ariyachi was the primary type of pottery made in Okinawa before World War II. The second type of traditional Okinawan pottery is joyachi, which is glazed and used for tableware and decoration. Yomatan Village, located in the less developed Yomatan Peninsula, has in the past decades grown into an artisan colony that, along with other crafts, produces traditional Okinawan pottery. Around 45 artisans create and showcase their wares for sale and hold workshops to teach their techniques. Local Yomatan red clay is used for the ceramic pieces. Removing all air bubbles from the clay prior to forming is critical to the structural integrity of a piece. Kyukyumomi kneading is a rotational method that creates a chrysanthemum-like pattern left on the clay and is used in creating traditional pottery. In Okinawa, the potter's wheel is spun in a counterclockwise direction, which differs from most other wheels. After forming, the ceramic pieces are air-dried, not bisque-fired for drying like other pottery methods. This slow process depends on variables of the weather, such as humidity and temperature, and requires constant monitoring and the moving of pieces indoors and outdoors in response to the changing conditions in order to help ensure optimum drying. The ceramic pieces are then glazed, usually with translucent glazes containing iron, cobalt, and ash, among other ingredients. In the middle of this village sits an old-style climbing kiln. Contrary to its old appearance, this kiln was opened in 1992 after the developing city of Naha determined that they no longer wished to have these large billowing smoke furnaces polluting their growing urban areas. This red-tiled structure is a communal kiln for the village. 5 times each year, it is fired up for joyachi glazed pieces, which comprise the majority of the village's income. For a climbing kiln, fire is set up by first piling wood in the bottom furnace opening. This warms the kiln and removes any humidity inside. Firewood is then inserted and ignited on both sides of each chamber in ascending order. For this kiln, it takes about 72 hours to completely set fire inside all of the 13 chambers. Generally, this process begins in the evening and finishes around noon 4 days later. Without the precise instrumentation of a modern kiln, how can the right condition be confirmed during the firing of such a large quantity of pottery? All processes of this climbing kiln firing is overseen by 4 independent masters and their apprentices. 5 to 6 small pots are placed inside each chamber and are taken out and reviewed to determine the kiln firing conditions, and from viewing these samples, the total time is determined for each chamber. This checking process takes intuition gained from years of experience. The pieces displayed at the village are made from both climbing kiln firings as well as more modern processes. The varieties of colors, shapes, and patterns created by these artisans is amazing to see. Many ceramic designs are inspired by the beauty of nature. Ryukyu Glass, also called Okinawan glass, reflects the values of the Okinawan people to minimize waste and recycle, but it also demonstrates their adaptability, resilience, and their belief that imperfections can be useful as well as beautiful. Glassmaking in Okinawa began in the 1800s. Originally, glass was imported from other regions in Southeast Asia, but the fragile containers often broke during the long overseas transport to the island. Because of that, Okinawans invited craftsmen from Nagasaki or Osaka to come and teach them how to make glassware themselves. They used discarded glass from homes and industry and also repurposed glassware exhibiting imperfections such as bubbles and uneven thicknesses that would have otherwise been discarded. These factors all contributed to the unique and lovely designs of Ryukyu glass today. World War II left Okinawa in ruins, with nearly 1/2 of the population either killed from the battle or by suicide. Their villages leveled and everything lost, survivors scrounged in discarded trash heaps left by the U.S. military, as well as begged for handouts from the remaining military personnel on the island. From this came the creation of Ryukyu glass. Initially, Okinawans used cast-off Coca-Cola and beer bottles as drinking vessels, but eventually, craftsmen began using the various bottles to create colorful glassware. These pieces became popular with the servicemen, and they bought them as souvenirs to take back to the States. The demand continued to grow, and Ryukyu glass became much sought-after souvenirs of Okinawa. Near these glass shops are piles of bags filled with discarded bottles, separated into colors, awaiting to soon be transformed into beautiful treasures by skilled artisans. The ocean is inspiration for many of the glass pieces. The sea and surrounding areas of the island display many colors like the deep blue, sky blue, and emerald greens of the waters, and orange and yellows displayed across the horizon during sunrises and sunsets. Ryukyu glass craftsmen intentionally introduce bubbles and uneven thicknesses into their pieces, which for other glassware would have been considered imperfections and therefore discarded. Yet, the vibrant colors, bubbles, and non-uniformities of each piece add to the charm and uniqueness of Ryukyu glass. With the growth of tourism in Okinawa, demand grew for these artisan glass souvenirs. Local glassmakers began adding different ingredients to the traditional recycled materials and employing new coloring techniques, which increased the variations and styles produced by these artisans. Okinawa's original fabric dyeing art of Bingata, a stenciled resist dyeing technique, was created while under Ryukyu kingdom rule in the 14th century. The Bingata bright printed fabric patterns were usually of nature themes such as fish, flowers, and fauna. These lovely cloths were first worn by royalty on special occasions, but eventually were enjoyed by others as well. Pigments for Bingata printing were imported, but after the Ryukyu kingdom fell under Japanese rule, the Ryukyu people could no longer trade for these pigments and had to switch to materials available locally. After World War II, artisans streamlined paint making by using synthetic ingredients and pigments instead of the traditional natural ones. Bingata pieces became popular souvenirs for servicemen to bring home. Concerned about losing the art of traditional Okinawan fabric dyeing, Shuri Ryusen was founded in the capital city of Naha in 1973 as a way of preserving this art form. Research was conducted to retrieve the recipes for plant-based paints used for the original Bingata printing process. The 3-floor Shuri Ryusen building has an attractive old-style Japanese home appearance. Visitors can see beautiful fabric-dyed examples of art as well as artisans actually working on their fabric craft. Printed fabrics can be purchased along with other items such as printed clothing and accessories. On a high shelf along the wall are jars of dried plants, likely ingredients used to make the traditional dyes. In another section of the building is an area where one can actually try fabric dyeing for themselves, either the Bingata style or, in our case, coral dyeing. At our tables were primary color dyes, and surrounding us were numerous pieces of coral stones that were taken out of the nearby ocean. These stones varied in shape, patterns, and sizes, and we were free to either use the small ones close by or walk around and select larger pieces. We mixed colors for more variations and pressed our stamps into the dyes to absorb the color, and then, with our fabric covering a selected coral piece, we pressed our stamp onto the cloth, thus imprinting the coral pattern beneath. It made for a relaxing, creative afternoon and a great way to experience just a small part of the art form of traditional Okinawan fabric dyeing. Thanks so much for watching this video, Awesome Okinawa Part 4, Pottery, Ryukyu Glass, and Coral Dyeing. Please check out next week's video as I continue my Awesome Okinawa series, this one titled Remnants of the Battle of Okinawa. Thanks for watching. This is Shiny Visions.